your host, Andrew Romanella.
When you play Battle in Mario Kart and you don't turn off any of the items, there are bananas everywhere. I mean, it's like you're losing your balloons because you're slipping on bananas left and right. Bananas everywhere. What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to another edition of The Rome Show here on 12ouncesports.com, broadcasting live on YouTube, X, Roku, and Fire TV. I am your host, Andrew Romanella. It's a Tuesday. I lied. It's a Wednesday, and you know what that means.
Uh-oh. Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is?
If you were wondering, it is
Hump Day.
That's right, and we got our Hump Day headlines, which today means one thing and one thing only. That's the NCAA Team of 68 or Field of 68 college basketball tournament, which started last night with the first 4 games being played between Alabama State and St. Francis and UNC and San Diego State. So we give you the recap on those. We Hump Day headlines you to get you ready for your next 2 NCAA tournament games tonight. We got 2 regions of the 4 regions of the bracket to pick for you. And then, as we told you yesterday, it's a Hockey with Rocky Wednesday, and there's so much to do in the National Hockey League with which Rocky will get us informed. So if you have any questions, you want to get in on the show, you want to comment your thoughts, whatever the case is, head to YouTube or X. Super simple, 12OZ Sports. That's the number 12OZ Sports. Head over there, comment live in the YouTube or the X like our guy Michael Day and Kai the goalie yesterday, and give us your thoughts. Without further ado, let's get into the basketball portion of this program, starting with Alabama State doing whatever they could with less than 3 seconds left and a tie game, 68-68. Check out this Christian Laettner-esque play by the Alabama State Hornets to get the first victory of the NCAA tournament.
Here we go. This is where dreams are made. They're going for it all. Simpson, home run play, the deflection. Oh! 0.7 seconds left.
Check the replay.
Seconds left, and here we go. This is where dreams are
made. It is a 92-foot pass, essentially.
0.7 seconds left.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why we love March Madness. So Alabama State gets the victory. They now have a chance to face Auburn in the actual first round of the tournament. They defeated St. Francis on the heels of Amar Knox. He had 16 points, 8 of 15 from the field. The leading scorer for St. Francis was Juan Crawford Jr. He had 18 points and was 6 of 12 from the field. It was a back and forth affair, but St. Francis had as large as almost a 10-point lead in that second half. Alabama State had to outscore the Red Flash by 7 points in the second half alone to win this contest. And Alabama State gets the first and not the only crazy victory you're going to watch in this tournament. And that right there on day number 1, on night number 1, in theory, when you could consider these 2 teams not even in the tournament, they have to play into the tournament, you have a fantastic finish, and it shows you why you love the NCAA tournament. On the flip side, the other first 4 in game went completely the opposite direction. UNC, as a lot of people talked about leading into this contest, was the last team chosen in to this NCAA tournament, and they've been playing with a chip on their shoulder. I picked them in this contest because I said no team that wins 22 plus games and 16 in the ACC or whatever it was is going to be a team that should be considered an 11 seed. Or if they are an 11 seed, they're an 11 seed that I'm going to pick for some upsets. And starting with them winning their first 4 in contest, and they slaughtered San Diego State. They were up by almost 40 at one point in this game. They were led by R.J. Davis, the veteran, 26 points on 8 of 12 from the field. UNC had Seth Trimble come off the bench and score 16. They had 4 different scorers in double figures, and San Diego State could literally do nothing right. And now you have a scenario where if you look at the regions in this bracket and you look at the UNC situation, okay, the UNC winner, UNC San Diego State winner, which is UNC, now goes on to play Ole Miss, okay? Teaser alert, because I got to give you my first 2 picks before I give you my first 2 regions, but that's what happened with FDU 2 years ago. That's what happened with St. Peter's. Oftentimes, it's like the wild card game in the National Football League. This play-in tournament, the play-in tournament game, it turns into a team that could get hot and it could upset some people. So watch out for this UNC team, because not only were they probably already good enough to not have to be in this part of the tournament, now they have a chip on their shoulder because everyone's been talking about how they're not really that good, and they just slaughtered a really good basketball team. The 2 games you have going on tonight are American University versus Mount St. Mary's and Xavier versus Texas. In those 2 contests, I'm going to take American versus Mount St. Mary's, and I'm going to take Xavier over Texas. Mount St. Mary's had to play really good basketball in the NEC tournament to sneak their way in. They defeated the Iona Gales in the not the Iona Gales, completely different conference, but they had to run a road. Americans played good basketball all year. I think they're nearly 500 against AP top 100 teams. And then on the flip, I got Xavier over Texas because Texas has really just stumbled into this tournament. And I do not trust, nor do I pick teams that are under 500 in their last 10 heading into the NCAA tournament. And that's what Texas is. Though I believe in their head coach, I do not believe in their team. So for the last 2 first 4 in games tonight, I'm going to take American over Mount St. Mary's, and I'm going to take Xavier over Texas. To finish, before we get Rocky on the show here, I wanted to take you through the 2 of the 4 regions today. I'll take you through 2 of the 4 regions tomorrow, and I will give you all of my first round selections. And then I thought, once we get Rocky on the show here, I know Rocky is an avid water cooler March Madness bracket picker guy, and I'm sure he's going to have some great takes on the NCAA tournament. So I want to give you my South and East bracket first round winners, okay? And then tomorrow I'll give you my West and my Midwest, but I will let you know at some point in time before we get to Thursday, and we are playing round number 1, or the round of 64, as you might call it at home. I will let you know my Final 4 and my champion. But we can't reveal that today. We might get Rockies today, but we cannot reveal mine today. So let's do this. Let's add the one and only Rocky Romanella to the mix, because I know it's more than just hockey today. So play that sounder. Now, inside the glass, hockey with Rocky.
What's going on, everyone? My name's Rocky Romanella, and I'm still trying to figure out how St. Francis, who was 16 and 18, are even playing a game in this tournament. What's up?
Unbelievable. And I stand corrected, by the way. Mount St. Mary's won the MAC against Iona. I was right about that. And that is the crazy part about March, Rocky. You get into the conference tournament and you win it. Now all of a sudden you're dancing.
It's the first time I've ever seen a governor disrespected by the selection committee, though. That's for sure. I mean,
I feel like that's like college sports is grown to a whole new height now, where we have politicians talking about it. It's like kind of crazy.
I mean, listen, like West Virginia, there's not much else there.
Yeah, it's true. Your main attraction is the university.
What's that town? What's the town where West Virginia is?
Morgantown.
Their population is only like 20% capacity when the school's not in session. So I mean, It's literally yeah.
So I could see why you would have a mayor or a governor want to come out and speak in defense of your team not making the tournament. All right, Rock, you heard me on the intro. I want to pick the first round of the South, and I want to pick the first round of the East. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to say the game, okay? So, for example, I'll say Auburn versus Alabama State. I'll give my pick, you give your pick, and we move on. There's really no rhyme or reason here. I think on my side of the fence, I do a hair bit of research. On Rocky's side of the fence, zero research whatsoever. And what's the funny part about this is I'll have him fill out this bracket fully by the time we start on Thursday, and he'll probably out bracket most people with his thought processes on what he picks. So, Rocky, are you ready to go?
Let's do it.
Do you want me to put music on for this in the background?
I mean, people like music.
People do like music. We're going to keep it on nice and light in the background here. Oh, yeah. That's a good one for the human beings. Okay, here we go. We are going to go in the South region to start. Number 1 seed Auburn versus number 16 Alabama State. Rocky, I will take Auburn. You will?
Auburn.
Okay. Number 8 Louisville versus number 9 Creighton. I will take Louisville. Rocky?
I have Louisville as well. They have more points per game, and they give up less points per game than Creighton.
Okay, let's continue on. I love that. Look at that. He's even bringing us notes on why he's choosing people. It's a new Rocky Romanella. Number 5, Michigan versus number 12, UC San Diego. Rocky, I have UC San Diego. You have?
UC San Diego.
I'll tell you what, I want to give you a note on this one too. They are one of the best defenses in the nation, and differential, which is a number you love, Rocky, they are also top 5 in the nation in point differential. And I think that's a huge aspect of this game.
They played 0 games versus top 25 opponents this year, so you've got to know that they got 1 W in there.
That's it, and it's a 12-5. You got to pick a 12-5 every tourney. Okay, number 4, Texas A&M. Number 13, Yale. I have Texas A&M. You have?
Texas A&M.
Okay. We'll continue on. Number 6, Ole Miss versus now play-in winning number 11, UNC. I have UNC. You have?
Ole Miss.
Okay. Oh, all right. Little.
Yeah,
There's the spot. There's a spot right there.
The Tar Heels are 1-8 versus top 25 opponents this year, so they have not played big in big games.
Okay, I love that. Iowa State, number 3, Lipscomb. Number 14, I got Iowa State. You?
Go Cyclones.
Okay. Number 7, Marquette. Number 10, New Mexico. I have New Mexico. You?
New Mexico.
Okay. And then finally, to round out the South region, round number 1, Michigan State versus Bryant. I got Michigan State. And Rocky, you have?
For the other Rocky Romanella, Michigan State.
That's good stuff out of you. Sparty, or whatever the hell they call themselves. I think kind of a sleeper in this tournament. So I would not be surprised if they found their way to a deep run. Okay, Rocky, let's move to the East region of the tournament for our second set of first round picking. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, Duke versus the winner of American and Mount St. Mary. I got Duke. You have?
Duke.
Oh man, I was gonna laugh if you picked like American.
No, I don't see a 16 win in this tournament.
Nah, I just think
I'm over it.
Yeah, I agree. It's like I feel like it's one of those tournaments where like a 12 might win or run, a 10 might, but it's not going to be a crazy 15 or 16 seed type deal. There's a lot going on there. Okay. Number 8, Mississippi State. Number 9, Baylor. I have Mississippi State. You have?
Mississippi State.
Okay. Number 5, Oregon. Number 12, Liberty. 5, Oregon is my choice. You have?
Liberty.
Really? Why so?
Yeah. 0 games versus top 25, but they score more points and give up less than Oregon does, and because Liberty.
Okay. I honestly, it was really... I picked 2 12s, Rocky, or I picked 2 12s, and I almost picked 3, and I chose Oregon over Liberty. I think I took the liberty of going with... Go.
You know what else? Oregon has traveled more miles than any team in actual history of NBA, and so or NCAA, and they're tired.
Wow. Okay, I love that. You know what? That's just great analysis. Number 4, Arizona versus number 13, Akron. I got Arizona. You got?
Go Wildcats.
Okay, this is a tough one. 11 VCU versus 6 BYU.
I will say though, if you're looking for an upset, like Akron was 17-1, so I don't know I don't know anything about basketball, but 17-1 makes me nervous about that pick.
Nah, dude, the Zips played really good basketball. And anytime a team comes up as a really good defensive team, doesn't matter what conference they play in, it's a team you want to think about for an upset. Do you have VCU upsetting BYU or you got BYU winning?
BYU. I'm over the VCU being upsetters.
Wow. Okay. Well, I took VCU, Rocky, but the reason is because of the defensive efficiency. I'm just a huge guy on the defensive efficiency, especially when it comes to one-game tournament type situations. Your defense has to be elite,
BYU 4-4 versus top 25, and they're scoring over 80 points a game, which is like once they get over 80, then that kind of tips me their direction.
I feel you. Wisconsin, Montana. I got Wisconsin. You got?
Go Badgers. Ron Dane.
Okay, this is the last quad set in the East and our last 2 picks of the day. Number 7, St. Mary's versus number 10, Vanderbilt. St. Mary's was upset last year as a 5 seed. Vandy dancing for the first time in a minute. Who you got?
Vanderbilt. I don't understand how St. Mary's didn't play one top 25 team and they're 7. So Vandy.
I am going to go against you there. I'm taking St. Mary's on the pure Rocky premise of the fact that they beat Gonzaga 2 out of 3, so they are good enough to beat good teams. But furthermore, I just believe they're going to bounce back. There's no way you get upset 2 tournaments in a row. And if you do, just a bad pick on me. Okay, final pick of the day. Then we will get to hockey, we promise. All right. Alabama, Robert Morris. Should be an easy one. 2 seed versus 15. What do you got?
Alabama.
And I have the same. Now, Rocky, since you won't be on the show tomorrow, do you want to pick the other 2 brackets and your final 4, or do you not want to do that? I'll leave it up to you.
I literally picked South and East just because I was coming on the show, so I need a minute.
Oh, so take your time. So what if we did this? What if Rocky gave us his picks tomorrow, whether he's on live or not? We'll give you Rocky's West and Rocky's Midwest. So the entire time we're picking this bracket thing here, you don't just have mine person's opinion, because that's not a good way to spend your bananas either. So today or tomorrow, we will get Rocky's West, Rocky's Midwest, and at some point tomorrow, you will get my final 4, my champion. And then if Rocky is inclined to feeling up to it, we will get his as well. It's the Rome Show. It's 12-ounce sports. It's you. It's everything you were hoping for on a Wednesday. It's a
day.
And we are having a blast. We're going to roll right through here into our next segment because Rocky and I had a lot planned for the people today. And though we love talking NCAA basketball, there's like 37 sports in session right now. So Rocky, you talked to me in our production meeting last night about NASCAR and about the National Hockey League. You said you had opinions on both, usually a little bit more on hockey than NASCAR. Which are you starting with right now?
I'll give you a little NASCAR start.
Woohoo! All right. Chevrolet, what do you got for the people?
The reason I want to talk now, so I went to, it was St. Patty's Day, so I went with a couple buddies. We had to go like at like 8:30. We met at 8:45 to have 2 Guinnesses. Just
to do your Irish thing. Yeah.
And NASCAR came up and I was like, oh, I love NASCAR. They're like, why? Blah, blah, blah. And then another guy was like, no, I like NASCAR too. And I told them about my alter ego, Chevrolet, Chevy for short. And it's just been an incredible NASCAR season. Now, Josh Berry won at Las Vegas over the weekend, but the 3 races prior was a 3-in-a-row W for Christopher Bell, who won 3 races in a row. The guy I've been watching and cheering for is William Byron in the 24 Hendricks Motorsports car. And William Byron won in really miraculous fashion the Daytona 500. I believe that made him back-to-back winner to kick off the season of the Daytona 500. He's been top 10 every week. That young generation, that Ryan Blaney, William Byron, Christopher Bell, these guys have been in the mix every race. Look out, Kyle Larson has been in the mix the whole time. It's been a very, very fun start to the NASCAR season.
So if I was to pop on the internet and say, you know what, Chevy's got some interesting insight on this whole NASCAR thing, and I pop on the standings. Can you just explain that really quickly? Like, what the hell are the standings? Like, it's the top 16 make the playoffs. I know we've talked about it a little bit, but now that you're really a month into NASCAR season, Rocky, that's kind of what you're looking at. It's not just about racing and winning a race. There is a whole playoff format to this thing. Can you explain that to the people?
Yeah, you need to get into the top 16. So think about it. William Byron has only won one race. Christopher Bell has won three, but William Byron is first in points. So wins factored in, top five finishes factor in, top tens, laps led, and then stage points. Each race is broken into three stages. Now, I still don't necessarily know. So, for example, William Byron has 207 overall points and 58 stage points, which means those are the points he gets for the stage victories and laps led in those
Sure.
stages and top 10 finishes. So, like, you have to be in the top 10, I believe, to get a stage point. Um, so, like, you look at William Byron, he's been in the top 10 of every race, but also the top 10 of all of the stages of the race. So, that guy's pretty much running at the front all day, every day, which is why he's first,
Yeah.
right? Tyler Riddick has less overall points, but 41 stage points. So he's behind Christopher Bell, but has more stage points. So, but he doesn't have any wins, only two top fives, only two top tens, and he's only led 43 laps, but he's in third place overall. So honestly, it's still confusing to me. But hopefully those descriptions helped out.
It did. And then the last thing before we get to hockey is it seems to me, this is really more of a question than a comment. It seems to me like you don't necessarily need to win a race over the course of the regular season, but you need to get some pole positions. You need to be
No,
top
you
10.
need to win. No, wins are big.
Okay.
Wins are
So,
big. I
so I
think a
couldn't
win
finish
puts
top
you
10.
in. Like I think if you don't have enough points to be in the top 16, but like and like but you've won a race, I think that actually puts you in.
Okay, because I'm just sitting here listening to you talk about it. I'm saying, so is there stock more in winning, or is there stock more in finishing top 5, top
There's
10?
always I think there's I based on what I understand, and by the playoffs work this way too. So it's four races per 16. So like if you're in the playoffs and you win a race, you automatically go to the next round. So
Uh,
like in the playoffs, winning is paramount to everything, right? In in the regular season, I still think winning plays a big factor, but it's like, but you've got to be a good racer. Like, is ultimately what it's come down to.
Very interesting stuff. We're talking to Rocky Romanella here. It is NASCAR with Rocky. We're about to shift gears to hockey with Rocky. It was college basketball with Rocky before. It's a charcuterie board with Rocky, is what we should call it on a
Update.
Wednesday
You
here on the Rome Show, 12ouncesports.com. Comment live on YouTube and X if you have some thoughts for the kid. All right, you came on here to talk about hockey, so we
Let's
might
do it.
as well, in the last 10 minutes of this show, get to it. I have some rock solid, rock softs for you at the end, okay? But it's been 2 weeks since you had the microphone in front of your face and you've been able to talk about the National Hockey League. So I thought we could start with Rocky's topics today, because I'm sure there's some things eating at that brain of yours that you want to get off your chest. So first 2 minutes, hockey with Rocky, legitimately. Hockey thanks to Rocky. Floor is yours.
left to right on your map, West Coast first. Calgary Flames. I told you weren't gonna make it. They're 3-4-3 in their last 10. They played a incredibly great game versus the Rangers last night. But the team I want you to pay attention to is the team that I said I think is going to charge their way into the playoffs, and that is the St. Louis Blues, who are now tied for the eighth spot with Vancouver. But if you look at their last 10, 7-2-1, and they find themselves in that +3 goal differential, which is what I think is one of the most important stats to help you understand who's going to make it. The team that is slipping in the West that you would want to be worried about if you're a fan is the Minnesota Wild. Wild off to a really big start at the beginning of the year, have since like found themselves in this wild card position. So be nervous if you're Minnesota. St. Louis is charging. Will Vancouver maintain it? I don't know. I'm sticking with the Blues.
Do you
over.
believe
Oh,
the
oh, and
sorry? Do you
go
believe
ahead.
Bennington playing in the All-Star Break Four Nations Classic was a little bit of a spark that could have helped this Blues team?
I think players who played, it was either a spark or like a hurt or a hindrance.
Interesting. Okay, continue
Yeah,
on. Just had to ask that question.
for sure. Shout out to Nathan McKinney, Colorado Avalanche, played his 1,000th hockey game in the NHL the other night, so that was pretty cool.
All right.
Moving into the East, based on what I've seen, so the Rangers. So now, if you look at the standings in the East, and you were cheering for the special story that was Columbus, Columbus lost a tough game to the Rangers. They were both locked in a playoff spot. They were tied for that last playoff spot. The Rangers beat them, and since Columbus really hasn't been the same. They've lost four in a row, kind of taking, they're not out of contention. But when you've got teams like Montreal charging forward, and you've got teams like the Rangers who are one night in and one night out, it's going to be tough for them. Here's what I will say. Based on last night's game and the game before that, the Rangers don't deserve to be in the playoffs. Last night, I mean, the lack of toughness and the lack of ability to play big was so apparent. Calgary shut down the middle of the ice. They pretty much shut down the Rangers altogether. They registered a grand total of 13 shots on net for the entire game. It was awful. The Devils, who we were worried about, right? Found their footing, won some big games, but be
Yep.
nervous about their 5-5, and they've lost Shaq Hughes for the year. So
Yep.
I'd be weary about the Devils if I was a Devils fan. The Washington Capitals continue to impress. I'm sticking with the Winnipeg on the President's Trophy, but all eyes are on Alexander Ovechkin.
That is correct. Alexander Ovechkin, Rocky, 8 goals away from
Yes.
breaking Wayne Gretzky's 894. Your thoughts on that? Because I know we haven't been able to have a conversation with you about that in a few weeks as well.
Love it. The entire sports rallied around it. Everyone's paying attention. He's scoring goals and opposing fans are winning. Pay attention. The last thing I will say, because we didn't talk about because we weren't here, Brad Marchand is now a Florida Panther.
Dude. What?
And absolute pandemonium.
There are
Craziness.
certain players you don't ever think are going to not play for a franchise. That would be one I had put in that category about 5 years ago.
You could argue, like, if you're not a fan of hockey and you're a fan of, like, let's say baseball, this is like Babe Ruth to the Yankees.
Yeah.
This is like Johnny Damon to the Yankees. It's just not. I mean, the Florida Panthers have essentially ruined Jim Montgomery's coaching career in Boston, ruined the Sabres. I mean, put them in a way that really they haven't recovered from this season. The reason Boston sucks is because what Florida has dismantled them the last 2 years.
Yeah. And they've tried to change their entire organization approach to beat the Florida Panthers. And then you send your captain.
And the captain, last of the Stanley Cup era of that Boston-like identity is now a Panther.
I actually thought about that. I was thinking about Brad Marchand, Patrice Bergeron, and Zdeno
Chara.
I was like, oh my God, that whole
Charlie Coyle. The Torrey Krug. I mean, it's crazy.
I guess that's the truth of sports right there, right? Like you could think that Brad Marchand probably thought in a million years he would never not wear a Bruins sweater. It's just that is the business of sports. We saw it with Luka Doncic. Maybe the caliber of player isn't necessarily the same, but that's a trade where you look around. Doesn't matter who you're a fan of. You're like, are we sure about this?
Imagine if Larry Bird played for the Lakers.
I couldn't imagine Larry Bird playing for literally any other team. But again, that's the business. Rocky, I wanted to ask you this before I get to rock solid, rock soft. The Aiden Hill extension. I talked about it yesterday. I think it's phenomenal for the Golden Knights because, in my opinion, if you don't have a goalkeeper, what do you have? You don't have anything. And he maybe hasn't been as great since the Stanley Cup, but he's been good enough for them to be good enough. And when he got into the playoffs that year, he was like the best goalie in the last 10 years we've seen in the postseason.
I actually think that this is where Jordan Binnington plays, right? Like, Binnington won the cup for the Blues, and you could argue that, like, and a lot of people argued during Four Nations that they didn't think that he was the guy that Canada should have rode to
Sure.
their gold medal. But I think Aiden Hill kind of plays in that same bracket. He came and he like put his name on the map like Binnington did by winning the cup so early in his career. So to question a goaltender who won a Stanley Cup at such a young age today is to me is just ignorant, and you just like that's one of those things where people are making stories to write stories.
I agree. And by the way, he has a 253 goals against average, a 906 save percentage. And during the time he was winning the Stanley Cup,
906 save percentage, and you're going to tell me he shouldn't have been re-signed? Come on, people.
And Rocky, listen to these numbers from the playoff run: 11 and
I don't
4.
even need stats to know he should be signed.
217 goals against. He had a 932 save percentage in the playoffs.
Yeah, what are we doing? Why would we question this?
I don't know, but
Good for Aiden Hill.
I loved it, and I wanted to get your thoughts. All right, are you ready for rock solid and rock soft today?
Fire them off.
I have 4 questions for you. You are so good at your job. You almost alluded to all of them, but I'm not going to let that affect me, and I'm still going to go.
I love how you didn't give me a tee up in the production meeting.
I tried so hard not because I was like, you can end up talking about this shit in the standings anyways. All right, here we go. Rock solid, rock soft. The Capitals make the Stanley Cup.
Soft.
Ooh, why?
I just think that I think it's either going to be. I think the Leafs can make a big run. I think Caps are going to get. I think they're going to be in the conference final. I just don't. I mean, you've got to get through. If you're the Caps, as of today, you've got to get through. You have to get through the team charging into the playoffs. Number one, which is going to be physical. Then you have to get through either Carolina or New Jersey, and it's probably going to be Carolina. I know you don't like that, but like. Carolina is the most defensively sound team in the league. And then you've got to get through Florida, Tampa Bay, Toronto, or Ottawa, who are all physical beasts.
It's a good point out of you. Okay, I agree. You know, I put this question on here because I can't figure out, are they good or are they playing so good because of Ovi? Every time I've ever watched the Capitals win the President's Trophy, they've like lost in the second round. So.
I honestly think though, it's a good question because the Caps are polarizing to a point where like, I think if they make it to the final, they can win, but I don't think that they're going to make it there.
Yeah, it's like that catch-22, right? If they get there, they could, but will they get there? Probably not. All right, we continue on. Rock solid, rock soft, Rocky. Winnipeg, the Jets make the Stanley Cup. Your thoughts?
Oh man, I want to say yes. You know what? I'm going to say yes on Winnipeg. I think I'd love to see Winnipeg Edmonton in the Western Conference Final. I think that would be ideal. I think Edmonton has to find a way back, and if they don't, there's going to be big changes. And I think in Edmonton. But I do think that Winnipeg has the firepower. And again, the same way I chose USA because of Connor Hellebuck, I'm going to choose Winnipeg to make it because of Connor Hellebuck.
How about this comment by Kai, the goalie? Imagine saving 90% of shots. That's wild. It is wild when you say it like that.
Yeah, and then someone questioning if you should be re-signed.
Yeah. First off, and secondly, it's embarrassing. We need to get the NHL contracts up. Like if that was a baseball player, it'd be 6 years, 235.
Forget about it. Forget about it.
It's wild. It's all right. That's
I bet 280 in Major League Baseball and make $25 million a year.
Yeah, it's exactly right. You're the 16th player on the roster, and you're making more than every player in the National Hockey League. It's messed up. All right, 2 more. These are hit them at home, hit them in the heart, whatever you want to call rock solid, rock softs. First, rock solid, rock soft. The Rangers make that final wild card spot.
I'm soft on the Rangers.
I knew you alluded to it before.
I'm sad.
All right,
My Chip says they'll make it. I watched every minute of that game last night, hoping that they would score a late goal and like steal a greasy point, but they did not.
I just think it's one of those years for the Rangers. It's been, in my opinion, 6 or 7 straight years of knowing they can contend. We feel like they should or be able to make a Stanley Cup. They have. And I just think it's that year where it's like, what's the next move for this franchise? Is it 3 or 4 more years of this? Or is it let's just try and, again, refresh?
They need to commit to not relying on Zibanejad, Panarin, Kreider, Fox, and Trocheck to score every single goal in every single moment of the game. The coach doesn't matter. They've been doing that with all three of their last coaches.
Yeah.
They pulled the goalie with 2 minutes and 45 seconds left last night, and those five guys did not leave the ice for the entire 2:45.
It's ridiculous. They're not even that good.
And you've got a first round overall pick sitting on the bench, just eating up bench. It's awful.
All right, let's get you off the Rangers. Last and final question of the day. Okay, rock solid, rock soft. The New Jersey Devils, despite the crazy injuries they're dealing with, just get into the playoffs. Rock solid, rock soft.
I'm solid on the Devils making playoffs.
Okay. I am as
Soft
well.
on them getting me out of the first round.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, I think the goalie situation has been a question mark for the Devils all year. And you were always kind of relying on the fact that for 3 or 4 years, you've been drafting and building this young team and putting these pieces together. And you're like, when's it going to matriculate? At the end of the day, though, it doesn't matter what type of offensive pieces you have. If you can't play defense or you can't stop the people from scoring, it doesn't matter. And I feel like this year, though that question still exists for the Devils, Rocky, it's answered better, okay? That's the best way I could put it. It's not perfect. I know they extended their goalie, and then you get all these injuries, and you're like, oh, well, this team might just falter. And I'm now looking at it, and I'm going, I don't know what happens with this season. I almost don't think it matters anymore because they're at least proving to themselves, yeah, you know what, Jack Hughes, you want him. You don't want to go through a season without Jack Hughes, but they're proving to themselves they're still good enough to win games. They've increased their playoff chances since losing Jack Hughes, and I find that impressive. That's my assessment on the New Jersey Devils.
First round exit or no first round exit, this has been a great season for the Devils.
I agree.
Absolutely great. Yeah.
I agree. All right, final thoughts. It's that time. I know the 28 minutes flies. What are your final thoughts today, Rocky?
Conference championships are being played this weekend in Division I college hockey, and by next week we will know our 16 and the Frozen Four tournament will get started.
I had it written down. Is it March 23rd or something like that's the selection show? It's the end of this week,
yeah,
right?
It should be. Yeah, this weekend is you've got semifinals and finals or finals in every conference.
We talk a lot about college sports on this show, Rocky, especially football, basketball, and baseball. I don't know if enough people watch college hockey. How? Is it just on ESPN? Like, can you give them like a path as to where to go find it? Is it just going to the college's website and watching online? Because I think
ESPN Plus is probably the best place to get it, I think. Yeah.
So much like all those college sports, you can hit up on ESPN Plus and just get everything you need.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm going to give you a what you watching on a Wednesday, Thursday, and a Friday because I have been paying attention to the Frozen Four, less visually, more online. It's elite. Rocky's been to a Frozen Four. We've been hockey fans our whole lives. You want to check out another college sport that's going to give you the electricity that you love when you're watching March Madness or you're watching the College World Series? Check out the Frozen Four as that tournament goes on right now because it's going to be a lot of fun. Rocky, thank you so much for your time on this Wednesday.
Always happy to be here.
Rocky Romanella, everybody. Yeah. Woo! I mean, just exceptional stuff. It only feels right for me to hit my second favorite sounder.
Handle this to Rocky Romanella.
I can't handle it, but you know what? Hey, listen, we have it, and we're lucky enough here on the Rome Show to have two Rocky Romanellas. Let's go ahead and finish this thing off. I'm going to make it really easy because we went over on the time today. It is your daily bananas. All right. Nice and simple, okay? Senators money line. I had the Rangers -1.5. I had UNC -4.5, and I had St. Francis -3.5. Not an elite day for the kid last night. So we just move into today. I decided instead of going overzealous and picking 4 games and losing some and blah, 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 let's just go 1 hockey and let's just go 1 basketball. So I'm taking the Avalanche over the Leafs. First off, it's going to be a phenomenal game to watch. Okay, there's only 2 NHL games on tonight, and one of the games features 2 teams with over 40 wins in Toronto and Colorado. I like the way Colorado's been playing puck recently. Rocky mentioned McKinnon before. I'm going to take Colorado straight up on the money line, though, because I think this is going to be a tight affair. If you want a secondary on this, I'm going over 5.5 goals. I just feel like when 2 good teams get together, we can see some goal scoring, though they're both pretty solid defensively. Avalanche, Leafs, Avs money line. OKC -9.5 against Philly. So you're going to tell me the best team in the NBA or second best team in the NBA is going to be only favored by 10 points against arguably the worst team in the NBA? I'll take OKC at the -9.5 any day of the week and twice on Sunday when I see that. Ladies and gentlemen, is the Rome Show, and that is everything you're going to need here on 12 OZ Sports on this Wednesday. Hope you had a great time. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you tune in tomorrow. Thank you to Rocky for tuning in. Thank you to the fans for commenting live. And thank you to you for being awesome. Have an electric Wednesday. I'm Andrew Romanella, and until tomorrow, peace.
Thank you for listening.